This is my most important artwork ever, and I made it for Ryan Trahan, who doesn't know it yet, but is my best friend. You see, Ryan Trahan is coming to my city, to a pop-up candy shop to promote his awesome candy, Joyride, and I'm going to meet him. But there's just one problem. I don't want to go empty-handed, so today I'm going to draw my most important artwork for Ryan Trahan. But first, I need a plan. So like always, to get started, I need to find my very special, very top secret plan book. It's where I put all my very special top secret plans. So no peeking. Step 1 in this master plan is draw amazing artwork. Step 2, give it to Ryan Trahan. And step 3, a best friend hug. I'm not weird. Let's do this. Since I want this to be a gift for Ryan, I want it to be big, so I'm gonna make it a movie poster. Starting with my sketch, I went with the triangle composition. Illuminati? It creates stability and guides the viewer's eyes to the 3 points of the triangle. And of course, we're gonna have Ryan Trahan at the top of that triangle. Ryan Trahan and Joyride are in what they are calling the climb, which is the process of them surpassing all of your childhood favorite candies as the #1 candy in Target. And they're currently at number 2. Because of this, I want to make him look more like an adventurer, a climber. So I give him a hiker's backpack, and it's a perfect place to put all of his Joyride, of course. What else he's gonna have in there? I also give him a sort of cape thing and a sword and a shield, but more on that shield later, because this one is more of just a placeholder. Now the sketch is complete for Ryan. Now I just have to sketch in all the other candy mascots. So I sketch in the Nerds mascot, the Haribo Gummy Bears, Sour Patch Kids, and an Airhead. Now that the sketching is done, I've got to get to the inking. And while I was able to be messy and sporadic with the sketch, the inks, they have to be more methodic. So no more sloppy lines, it's time to get inked up. Ha! Did you just say ugly? Inked up? So cool. Wait, did you just call me ugly? Let's get inked up. As I mentioned earlier, my inks have to be more methodic. They have to be more precise. I use a combination of thick and thin lines. And some other artists may prefer to use one uniform line width. Some people like to use thick outlines on the outside of the character and thinner lines on the inside of the character. Some people use thicker outlines where there's shadow. So you decide what it is you want to do. Just get inked up. So put some headphones in, listen to some music, and lock in. The inks on Ryan are done, and just like before, we have to get to the other mascots, and there's nothing to it but to do it. So lower the opacity of your sketches and start tracing over them. I love that song, but now it's time to get to the colors. When I'm dropping in my colors on the characters, it's important to note that I separate everything into different layers. This will help me later when I'm doing my rendering because I'm gonna be using clipping masks. Also, this helps me keep everything organized and neat. You don't have to do this. I know there are plenty of artists that work on 1 layer or 2 layers or very limited layers, but by the time I'm done with this, I'm gonna probably have 100 layers. And now that the colors are dropped in, I know everyone wants to jump straight into adding the lighting and shadows and start that rendering. But, it's not time for that yet. Before we do the rendering, I want to jump into drawing the background. This is very important. This is a very important step to do before you're rendering. Because when you're drawing your background and scenery, there might be things that interact with your character in terms of lighting and shadows. And you want to know where those things are. Certain things in your scene might reflect light onto your character at a different angle or with a different color, and some things might be casting a shadow. So you want to know where all of that is. I'm going to add a night sky and start painting in the mountain. Mountains are something that I look at other people paint and it looks pretty simple, but every time I try, I have the hardest time. I use the lasso tool to create the shape and drop in my base color before I drop in the shadow shapes and the lighting shapes. Mountains are not symmetrical. They have a lot of nooks and crannies, so there might be shadows and some lights in different places. You have to figure that out. Make sure you use a reference. And after all my pain and suffering, I'm finally done. Well, no, I have one more step. I want to add a texture. So I find a texture online and I add it to my drawing. And then something happened. My program, it crashed. All my hard work on that mountain is completely gone. All that hard work and stress for nothing. This is a friendly reminder to all my fellow artists out there, my fellow creators. Save your work as much as possible. It takes a second. So after I finish crying a little bit, or maybe a lot, I get back to work and I restart my mountain. Background finally done, and now it's time for my favorite part. It's time to add the shadows and lighting. It's time to get to that rendering. But first, a snack. There are so many different types of candies and flavors, but I think I'm gonna go with the sour smacks because they're small and bite-sized, and as advertised, they're sour. Oh yeah. That's good. I start with a big soft brush and I just drop in where I think those shadows are going to be. And like I mentioned earlier, I use clipping masks, so I don't have to worry about getting out of the lines. And I know people say don't use that soft brush because it can make your work look muddy, but I'm going to lower the opacity of that layer so that it's barely noticeable. I make a new layer on top of that layer, and then I start working on my hard shadows, lowering their opacity just a little bit so those two layers can blend. And then on top of that, I add a new layer of shadows, but I set it to multiply, making it a little bit darker. That's how I get that cel shaded effect. And then I do the same thing for the lighting, but instead I make things lighter and brighter instead of darker. And I have to do that for every color and every layer that I have for the characters. After hours and hours of work, I'm finally happy with the way Ryan came out. So I'm going to move on to rendering the other characters. And I go through the same exact process as I did with Ryan. But obviously they have way less layers because they're mostly just one color, so it's a lot faster. Now the drawing is looking really nice. I'm actually really happy with the way it looks, but I'm not done yet. I need to add some more details. So I take those black lines that I did earlier and I colorize them, making them the same color of whatever color they're next to, but a little bit darker. Also, I remove some of those lines a little bit, making it appear like lineless art. It makes a huge difference in your artwork. So zoom in, put a clipping mask over your ink layer and color those lines. And the drawing is finally complete. And that's the end of phase 1. But I need to gift this physically to Ryan, so I have to get it printed. Poster ordered, so now we wait. That was fast. Now it's time to move on to phase 2. I made my way to the Joyride pop-up shop to meet Ryan. I look around and there's all these amazing things like games and decorations, but I have to stay focused on the task. The real reason I'm here. Target acquired. There he is. He's just standing right up these stairs. I'm going to meet him. I'm going to meet Ryan Trahan. And I'm gonna give him this gift and we're gonna become best friends. And suddenly, it's happening. It's my turn. I'm walking up to Ryan to give him my gift. I open up the container, and before we can get to phase 3, the best friend hug, enjoy the reveal. I love the way this artwork came out, and Ryan also was very excited to see the artwork. He said that he loved this piece, which makes me so happy. We spoke for a little while about art, and I told him that I was here to make a friend, and he was more than happy to be that friend. But before I could tell him about phase 3, something happened.
You farted.
What?
No.
As I was saying, before I can tell him about phase 3, something happened. Something amazing. Ryan Trahan came in for a best friend hug. He just hugged me. I went back home with my wife, and while we ate our Joyride and watched TV, we talked about how amazing the day was, and I realized something. All this time, I was searching for my best friend, and she was right beside me the whole time. She even encouraged me to draw this picture. She encouraged me to go and meet Ryan Trahan. She even held the camera for me every step of the way. She took that long train ride with me and waited on that very long line that I had to wait on to meet Ryan. She even participated in all the silly Joyride games, and she even bought Ryan this silly hat, which I think he liked more than my drawing, to be honest. But my wife was with me the whole time, cheering me on, being my best friend. So, Ryan, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but you can't be my best friend, because I already have one. You know you're my best friend, right?
Oh, you're my best friend.
Love you.
Love you.
And if you like this sort of thing, you can watch this video right here where I draw amazing mascots for YouTuber products like Joyride. And make sure you hit like and subscribe and hit that bell. And remember, I'm awesome. I think. Thanks for watching.
Bye.